Am I the idiot for stealing my sister's in-laws? I always thought my sister, female 27, and I, male 25, had a decently close relationship until a few years ago when it came out that she thought of me as a golden child. She held resentment towards me for things I just looked at as the typical more lax treatment of the younger child in a family. I honestly thought the whole thing was pretty silly, especially since we were both years out of being under our parents' roof at this point, so we went a while without talking. We saw each other at family events but didn't really speak. I was invited to her engagement party as a form of an olive branch extension. It was there I met her future husband's younger brother, and we immediately got along. The two of us got to know each other and spent about a year as friends before making things official around a month before my sister's wedding. I love his family so much. His parents are warm and inviting in a way that feels so genuine, even before I was introduced as a significant other. Not to knock my parents, but with them being lawyers and working politically adjacent careers, it can be easy to become jaded when you watch them schmooze to people's faces even when that doesn't reflect their true feelings. I was the first person he ever brought home to meet them, and they made me feel like part of the family immediately. Their youngest brother has been equally as welcoming and regularly schools me in Overwatch 2 by staying alive far longer than I ever could. When I told my sister this, thinking it was something we could bond over, she was angry again. Apparently she didn't receive the same treatment. This resulted in a big argument, which led to her saying something to the effect of, "I guess this is what happens when two golden children get together." I pushed back against this, and it further devolved with her pointing out that out of all the people in the world, she couldn't believe I had chosen her husband's brother. She said I had stolen opportunities from her growing up and now I was stealing her in-laws. I considered telling my partner's parents about this at one point to let them know the animosity my sister apparently holds towards them, but I decided against it. I don't really know where I stand in this conflict, and at this point I'd just like some outside perspective. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You are very dismissive of your sister's feelings and experiences. Telling your partner's parents about this would be a super low thing to do. You're the idiot. Everything about what you've written screams I need attention. You fell in love great. You announced it a month before her wedding. Totally unnecessary. You may or may not be a golden child, but you are the proverbial baby of the family, and seem like someone who can't function unless they are the center of attention. I can't wait to see what you do next. Announce your engagement at her baby's shower maybe? The purchase of a new home at their child's first birthday. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for yelling at my brother's pregnant girlfriend and kicking them both out of my house after she threw away my food? I, male 27, live alone. My brother, male 21, and his girlfriend, female 19, still live with our parents as they can't afford a place of their own. His GF is currently pregnant with him in 4 months. My brother asked to bring his girlfriend for dinner in order to catch up, and I said sure, why not? However, the moment she entered my house she started complaining about the smell of the steak I was making, and said just the smell alone makes her nauseous, and she can't eat this. I tried to suggest an alternative, but she was dead set on Chinese food and ended up sending my brother to the nearest mall in order to get her some. I thought that would be the end of it, but after going to the bathroom and coming back, I caught her throwing my unfinished steak into the garbage. I asked her what the hell she was doing and said the smell was so strong she thought she'd end up throwing up on the floor, and she needed to get rid of it, and then started spraying perfume from her purse in my kitchen. I was beyond furious at this point, and sent her back to the living room, and after my brother came back from the mall, I kicked both of them out with their Chinese food. My brother tried to convince me to let them back and that I could make something else for the two of us, and his GF was pretty much sobbing at this point, but I was dead set on kicking them both out. However, my parents ended up being mad at me for apparently causing so much distress to my brother's pregnant GF. I told them that she literally threw away our dinner, but they said that I shouldn't have yelled at her or kicked them out as she's still just a teenager who's now getting influenced by her pregnancy hormones, and that my outburst also caused problems in their relationship as she ended up sending my brother to sleep on the couch that night, even though he literally defended her as well against me, so I have no clue how this is my fault. Am I the idiot for apparently not having enough tact to deal with a pregnant teenager? Not the idiot. I'm pregnant too. My sense of smell is definitely heightened. I would never dream of throwing away someone else's food. If I had that much of a problem with it, I'd leave. Yes, she's a teenager. But if she's mature enough to have a child, she's mature enough to know you don't go into someone else's house and throw away their food. Not the idiot. I can completely understand the smell being too much for her, I was like that when I was pregnant. But the solution was for her to leave. Throwing away someone else's food was way over the line. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for making my dad's fiancée cry? My father, male 54, and his fiancée, female 30, have been together for about 6 years now. When they first got together, I, male 17, at the time, was still living at home. She moved in about a month into their relationship, and I didn't have a problem with her at first, until she tried to actually mother me. I'm not talking about giving advice or being a supportive role model, more like giving me a 9 o'clock curfew. I live in a rural town, so that's a joke, and cleaning up after her dog has an accident. Every time I'd bring it up to my dad, he'd say, "Just try for me." Needless to say, I moved out soon after. Fast forward to a week ago. My dad invites me over for dinner, out of nowhere, as we haven't spoken in quite some time. I hesitantly accept, and spend the following few days trying to prepare myself for what they're going to say. I show up that night, bottle of wine in hand, anxious out of my mind. The night goes on for a few hours, us exchanging small talk, until I can't take it anymore and ask why they invited me. My dad said that they were getting married and wanted me to be his best man. I'm not going to lie, I laughed hard. This turned into the fiancée crying because she thinks that I don't like her, and I told her she was correct. It should also be said that given the option between me or his fiancée, my dad would choose her in a heartbeat. For example, I went on a 2-day camping trip. I had a spot in the garage for my car when I left, she had it when I got back until I moved out. And I really only care about that because hail damage. I'd been getting comments about if that was the worst the fiancé was while I was living there, so I guess this is info I should add to the post. She comes from a very Christian family, and if her parents found out about the situation, I've heard, she'd be essentially shunned. So I guess the biggest thing is her keeping us a secret. She expects us to just accept her into the family, and I guess her assumptions were somewhat correct. But how can she expect that when she doesn't think we're worthy of her family? She knows she's doing something wrong, yet she wants us to play along like no one is being hurt. However, at this point, I guess that one thing could have changed. I didn't ask at dinner. Not the idiot. I swear to God. My father did something similar to me when I was younger, in which, right before I met his girlfriend at the time, he said something along the lines of, "Don't act up and cause problems for me while she's here." This, along with your father telling you to try for him, is just so wrong. I'm so sorry your father doesn't respect you as much as he should. You have every right not to approve of their wedding, and while what you did may seem a bit harsh, I'd say it's fair since they clearly weren't listening before you moved out. Not the idiot, I still get surprised by parents who have kids and pick their partner over their child. Even though I have a parent who has been doing that for years. You told him your issues and he gave you the standard "just try for me" line. Which, by the way, a lot of them use. Mine says the same thing. You have been trying. He invited you to his house knowing already that you have issues with her and how he treats you when it comes to her. What was he expecting you to act like? Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for wanting to live with my older sister to get away from my other sister? I, 16F, have 11 siblings and I am the 6th youngest of the lot. I have 2 younger sisters aged 7 and 15 and 3 younger brothers aged 10, 12 and 14. My older sisters are aged 18, 19, 22, 24 and 26 while my only older brother is 28. After my parents, 48F and 37M, had an argument, I took up the role of being my younger sibling's part-time caretaker to help my parents to figure out their problems. Now I have been in a relationship for just over 6 months with my boyfriend, 17. And another thing to mention, I am currently 10 weeks pregnant without anyone in my family or my boyfriend knowing. My older sister, 18, has had difficulty dealing with it since I started year 11, and our parents aren't making things easier. She hasn't approved of my relationship since the beginning since my boyfriend rejected her long before we started dating. A few days ago I finally snapped after I was forced to make dinner just after hanging clothes on the line and giving my younger sister and a few of my nieces a bath. I was tired and cranky because I hadn't eaten the entire day and I hadn't slept well the night before, so I snapped and told my sister 18. Get off her lazy, spiteful and self-centered s to come up to me to make dinner or at least get the younger children dressed after their baths. She was not very happy and told me to quote, "Stop acting like I was the mother of everyone in the house and that I needed to stop acting as if I was pregnant." Now after she said that I was dumbfounded and shocked about it because as mentioned earlier, no one in my family knows I'm pregnant and I don't show it either. My mother has a tendency to take my sister's side whenever we get into arguments over anything. So after my sister said that to me, my mother agreed with her and told me that I needed to apologize to my sister because I stepped out of line, and I have been for a while. My father, on the other hand, agrees with me because my sister had been doing this to me since I was little, around 4 or 5. Now this might be where I might be the A** show. I have told my mother and sister that if they continue to treat me like I'm a slave and the carer of my siblings, then I would pack up everything I owned and go live with my older sister, 25. So I was away from them and closer to my boyfriend. Another reason I want to live with my sister is because she and my brother-in-law have always been so nice and caring towards me and my boyfriend. They helped us through a tough time in our relationship that had been the result of my sister, 18, trying to break us up. I'm at a loss right now because I have no idea what I should do. I don't want to leave my younger siblings at home with my older sister, but I also can't stay at this house anymore. So am I the idiot for wanting to live with my older sister to get away from my other older sister? You're the idiot because I couldn't read past the fact that you're 16, pregnant, and made a sister who doesn't like the BF who got you pregnant. FS. You need to tell your family to get that sorted out with your BF and family, whichever way you want to handle it. Keep it or not before you consider moving out. Secondly, do not move into a sibling's home without even letting them know you're pregnant. It just makes you a bigger A for putting that burden on someone else who had no say in the matter. Not the idiot for the part of stepping up. You're basically being everyone's mother, and your sister isn't even helping. Or is she? Please answer that. But, girl, you're 16 and your boyfriend is 17. You must have talked to him about that. A baby is a two-people matter, not only you. What kind of life is the baby going to have? Are you expecting your sister to help you with the pregnancy? Who are you expecting to help you with that? Info: why haven't you talked to anyone about it? Is there a particular reason? Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for not wanting my mother to be around my daughter? I, 28, female, recently became a mother to a beautiful baby girl. My mother, 51, female, has always been a difficult person to be around. She has a history of being verbally abusive towards me and my siblings, and has a tendency to become very angry over small things. Since having my daughter, I've been hesitant to let my mother around her. I don't want my daughter to be exposed to that kind of behavior. However, my mother has been pressuring me to let her see the baby. She says that she wants to be a part of her granddaughter's life and that she promises to be on her best behavior. Last week, my mother came over unannounced and demanded to see the baby. I told her that I wasn't comfortable with her holding her, but my mother became very angry and started yelling at me. She called me a terrible mother and said that I was keeping her granddaughter away from her. At this point, I lost my temper and told her that I didn't want her around my daughter at all. I reminded her of the way she had treated me and my siblings growing up, and how I didn't want my daughter to be exposed to that kind of behavior. Now my mother is telling everyone in our family that I'm keeping her granddaughter away from her, and that I'm being unreasonable. I know that my daughter deserves to have a relationship with her grandmother, but I can't bring myself to let her be around such a toxic person. Am I the idiot for not wanting my mother to see my daughter? For everyone saying please don't let my mom be around my daughter, I'm not. After this incident, I'm never having her around her. It's just I haven't talked to her in years, and it was like that empty feeling that I'd felt my whole life of just wanting a mother who cared. And when she said she'd be there and she'd be on her best behavior, I thought, well, maybe with my birth with my daughter she'll have a change, which I knew deep down that would never happen. It was just false hopes. But thanks everyone for their concerns. Not the idiot. Something tells me everyone your mother is telling already knows how she is prone to act out. I notice you didn't say anyone came to her defense, just that she has told others. You are well within your rights to keep toxic people away from your children, regardless of their relationship. Not the idiot. Your mother clearly cannot respect boundaries and your authority as a parent. She also likely won't respect your parental decisions and boundaries in the future. It seems she may need time to reflect on her behavior, and probably therapy to address these issues. Being a grandparent is a privilege, not a right. You as a parent have every right to keep those people out of your child's life. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for finding my girlfriend's wigs, trying them on and making fun of them, and now she's upset? So my girlfriend, female 20, and I, male 23, have been dating for about a year now, and we've always had a playful and light-hearted relationship. Today, she had to go out for a few hours, and I was home alone. I decided to use the opportunity to clean the bathroom. As I was tidying up, I noticed a box tucked away in one of the cabinets. Being curious, I opened it and found several wigs inside. Now, it's important to mention that my girlfriend is black, and she often wears different wigs as a way to change up her style. I've always admired her confidence and versatility when it comes to her hair, and I've never had an issue with it. However, in that moment, I thought it would be funny to try on one of the wigs and surprise her when she got back. I didn't see any harm in it because we've always shared a good sense of humor, and I genuinely didn't think she would be upset. So, I put on one of the wigs and looked at myself in the mirror. I must admit, it was pretty amusing. I decided to take it a step further and started joking around, doing silly dances and making exaggerated expressions in the mirror. In my mind, it was all just harmless fun, and I didn't mean any harm by it. Unfortunately, my girlfriend returned earlier than expected and caught me in the act. The moment she walked in, she had this look of shock and sadness on her face. I immediately took off the wig and tried to explain that it was just a joke, but she didn't say a word. She quietly went into our bedroom, and I could hear her sobbing softly. Feeling terrible about what I had done, I knocked on the bedroom door and asked if I could come in. She didn't respond, so I slowly entered and found her sitting on the edge of the bed, her face buried in her hands. I tried to comfort her and apologize, but she just looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. She explained to me that the reason she wears wigs is not just for style, but also because she feels insecure about her natural hair. She opened up about how society often places unfair expectations on black women's hair, and how she sometimes struggles with her own self-image. Seeing me make fun of the wigs, even in a lighthearted way, triggered all those insecurities and made her feel ashamed. I felt like the worst person in the world for causing her pain, and I truly never intended for my actions to hurt her. I apologized profusely and told her that I would never make light of something that meant so much to her again. I assured her that I love and support her no matter what, and that I would do whatever it takes to make it right. Now we're at a bit of an impasse. She accepted my apology but needs some space to process everything. She's decided to stay with a friend for a couple of days to clear her mind. I completely understand and respect her need for space, but I can't help but feel like I've damaged our relationship irreparably. Am I the idiot? Edit. Holy poop, I didn't accept this post would garner much attention, but I'm grateful for the advice and opinions you've shared. I already knew that what I did to my girlfriend was disgusting, but after reading your comments, I now understand that the situation was far more serious than I initially thought. I want to apologize not only for my actions but also for my disrespectful and unacceptable behavior, and as soon as I have an update I'll let you know. You're the idiot. Can you imagine something you might wear or use to help you feel better about a trait that society tells you is less desirable or ugly? Can you think about how you would feel if a partner who has never felt those insecurities treated that object like a prop for? Look, I'm so ridiculous in this. Physical comedy? I feel like this could just be bait because it's well known that black women are frequently othered, judged, stigmatized, and bothered for their hair. If it isn't bait, man, just do better. You're the idiot. You seem very ignorant about issues black women have with their hair. I'm a middle-aged white woman, and I'm aware. I suggest you watch the documentary Good Hair that Chris Rock made to help his daughter come to terms and accept her own beautiful hair. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for not feeding my husband because he caused me to have an allergic reaction? He technically didn't cause an allergic reaction, but he pushed me into it. I, female 26, am allergic to a plant that lives in the state my husband, male 29, and I have moved to. We aren't sure which plant yet but are narrowing it down kinda. My doctor has told me not to do any yard work whatsoever because I have an allergic reaction every time. Full body rash and swollen joints for like a week. Wearing gloves and protective clothes has not helped. My husband knows all of this. Yesterday he mowed and pressured me into helping him rake up grass and weeds. I didn't want to and I mentioned that I could have an allergic reaction, but he said that he needed help and that I would be fine. Against my better judgment, I thought that if I just raked and didn't physically touch anything I would be fine. I didn't want to refuse him when he insisted. Today I have a rash all over and a lot of swelling and I feel like poop. I normally meal prep for the next week on Sundays. This morning I half-assed threw me some salads and Tupperware for next week and called it a day. I eat a lot of easy stuff that doesn't require cooking, so it's fine. My husband on the other hand eats like 15 pounds of meat a week as well as vegetables and sides. It usually takes me hours to cook his food and it's very draining. I told him he needs to cook his food for the next week, because I'm too tired and my skin feels awful. He got mad and said he'd just eat takeout since he wants to relax on his last day off. So now I have to freeze all the meat so it doesn't go to waste. He only cooks once or twice a year. He thinks it's not fair for me to not feed him since I agreed to rake, and it isn't his fault I had an allergic reaction. I'm not trying to punish him, but I'm really suffering right now and I just don't have it in me. I also do think it wasn't fair for him to pressure me into doing something he knows I medically shouldn't do. Am I the idiot for not feeding my husband? Edit, dang, you guys really hate my husband, haha. He's actually a pretty decent guy. I think this post just portrayed him in a bad light. He works 80 hours a week to support me while I go to school, and he still manages to do at least half of the cleaning. I talked to him, and he said his back was just hurting and he was stressed out from work, and he wasn't thinking. He apologized and brought me dinner while I laid on the couch. I'm not doing his meal prep this week because I really just can't, but we both came to terms with it. He'll feed himself, and I'll try to manage my skin as best as I can. It looks awful and feels worse. He's not a lazy guy. He works hard to make things up in other areas, and he just hates cooking. Which, to be fair, I hated yard work even before we moved to this shitty state where I'm allergic to everything. Not the idiot. He knows you are trying to figure out what you are allergic to. You had a medical reason not to do the raking. He should not have bullied you into helping with the raking. You have the horrible consequences of helping, and he is now experiencing the inconvenient, easy consequence of not having you prep his meals for the week. I am so angry that he expects you to cook when you don't feel well. He is choosing not to cook. Please do not feel guilty that you are not up to feeding him. He is a grown man. I hope you can treat yourself to something nice when this latest allergy attack is over. Please don't help next time. You may have an allergy attack that is even worse next time. Not the idiot. Even if he hadn't caused an allergic reaction, which he did, he is a full-grown adult with the ability to cook for himself. If he doesn't know how to, he looks for a tutorial online and leaves you out of it. You are not his servant. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling mom/sister to stop volunteering me for stuff? I'm a male 29, working full-time and part-time. Hey, race the situation. Well, recently, I keep getting texts from my mom and my sister. And it will always be something like, hey, can you help Mrs. Jones install her sliding glass door? And that was fine at first. Because they were asking me. And usually I would say no. But recently they changed the way they said it, like, you're going to go help Mrs. Jones, right? You're going to go help Mrs. Holmes clean her garage, right? You're going to go over to Mrs. Stone's place to go shovel manure, right? It's gotten to the point where they just expect me to know things are wrong and that I have to go fix them. I'm already tired from the long hours I work. And they'll just keep texting me asking if I have any free time during the weekend. And if I don't answer the texts, then they call. It came to a boil when my dad called, and then I picked up and he asked me about it, saying your mom and your sister wanted me to call because they said you'll say yes if I call. And then proceeded to ask me about if I could help out their friends/neighbors. But I already lived 30 minutes away from them, and I just felt like snapping right then and there. I already would have to have an hour commute in total just to get there and back. It came to a head when we were at a family reunion, and my mom and sister were going around volunteering me for projects without even telling me. Then when I said I couldn't, your mom and sister said you were available? I couldn't take it anymore, so I told my mom and sister we needed to talk. But they told me, if you want to talk to us, you can say it right here. They said it loud enough to get everyone's attention, and I just straight up said I can't keep up with all the things they're volunteering me for, and it's driving me nuts. Then they say, well, some of them can't move around so well anymore, so they need your help. Don't you want to help them? I then tried to explain that I'm already working full-time, and I barely have any time to myself anymore, and that it's not cool to volunteer me for projects not knowing my schedule, or just assuming I don't have anything else going on. I brought up an example where I had a dentist appointment, and I get a call from my mom asking where I was, and that I was supposed to go help out Mrs. Jones with something. But I told her how I had a dentist appointment scheduled for today, and she told me I shouldn't double book. But I had told Mrs. Jones a week ago I couldn't help that day because of it. Then my mom and sister start to raise their voices at me, saying I'm overreacting, and that they don't ask me for much. You're right. You just tell people I'll do it without asking me first. In hindsight, I know I could have handled that better. Not the idiot. It's wrong for your mom and sister to volunteer you for anything without your consent, even if you weren't busy with anything yourself. Besides, if they really wanted to help these supposedly immobile old people, I think they could do it themselves. It's not like cleaning the garage is something that takes your own unique skills to accomplish. Not the idiot. It's easy to volunteer other people for things and then look like the neighborhood angels while it costs them no time, money, or effort. They can help Mrs. Jones with things if they think it's so important. And I get that not everyone knows how to DIY things, but they can either Google it or pay a repairman if they want to be helpful. They have no right to volunteer you for things. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my friend to leave our Airbnb? Me and my boyfriend, 20 female and 20 male, rented a lake house Airbnb for this week and we invited some friends. There are 8 of us on this trip. Me and my boyfriend, Alex, Kate, and her boyfriend, James, Alyssa, and her boyfriend, Thomas, and 2 of our single friends, Lauren and Simon. The lake house has 4 bedrooms. Bedrooms number 1, 2, and 3 have king beds and bedroom 4 has a bunk bed. We specifically got this Airbnb because it made sense that the couples would sleep on the king beds and the 2 singles would get the bunk bed. Everyone drove up to the Airbnb this morning. Me and my boyfriend were the last ones that got there because we stopped to get everybody some lunch. By the time we got there, everyone had picked their rooms and unloaded their bags. The last room left was the bunk bed room. I stepped out into the living room where everyone was and asked why Lauren and Simon weren't sleeping in the bunk bed room. Lauren said the king bed was more comfortable. Me and Simon don't want to sleep on the bunk bed. I said, that's not really fair. The other couples all get a king bed. The bunk bed was specifically for you guys. So please just move your stuff. Lauren then said, no, we got here first so we got dibs. I then said, either you guys move into the bunk bed room or you guys can leave. Me and Alex are the ones that paid for the Airbnb, so at the end of the day, what we say goes. Lauren then got all mad, grabbed her stuff and left. Simon got up and said it wasn't a problem, that he'd move into the bunk bed room. I got a text from Lauren just now saying that I was being a witch over a literal bunked. All of our other friends are on our side about this, but am I the age? I didn't mean to make Lauren upset, but she was being so difficult. Edit. Got a couple comments already about this. But the Airbnb was completely paid for by me and Alex. Everyone else was in charge of food, snacks, alcohol, and any activities we want to do. We didn't ask anyone to pay their share of the Airbnb. Not the idiot. Your friend Lauren is inconsiderate, to a mind-boggling degree. Even if everyone was paying an equal share, I think it would be common courtesy to offer the king-sized bed to couples. I don't think that's a stretch. Calling dibs? What are we, 12 years old? Edit. To add, also if someone has booked/arranged/coordinated something for a group, it really is just the considerate thing to do, to offer a choice RGD sleeping arrangements. Everyone sucks here. Sleeping arrangements should have been discussed more thoroughly, but it seems pretty reasonable to have assumed to some degree the couples get the larger beds. You were the last to arrive because you actually picked up lunch for everyone, so she's kind of crappy for the losers weepers attitude. Your edit erroneously and needlessly, from your comments, indicated you paid for the Airbnb like a treat for everyone. That's inaccurate. You paid the lodging and it was going to even out to costs as everyone else was covering other expenses. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for calling my fiancée selfish for wanting to announce her pregnancy at her cousin's wedding? My fiancée, 29, and I, male 31, just found out that we're pregnant. My fiancée mentioned that she wanted to wait to announce it at her cousin's wedding, which will be taking place on Sunday. Her cousin and her husband have been struggling getting pregnant even with IVF or tons of others. Recently they just got some news that their insurance has stopped funding IVF, and not to mention the heartbreak of a recent miscarriage on Mother's Day. They almost understandably held off on the wedding. So when my fiancée brought it up to me, I told her it's not at all a good idea. This just seems so wrong, especially it being at their wedding. I asked if she was gonna at least ask her cousin for permission, and she said no because she wanted it to be a surprise for everyone. I told her it's not the time nor the place for that, and it would take the spotlight off the couple and her family. There hasn't been a baby in 3 years, so we'd be the first in that time. Fiancé feels that's the perfect time because it's such a joy and it's not like she can keep it away forever, and their problems shouldn't keep her from saying something so positive. so it's on them if they turn it negative. I told her that's not the point. She knows what they've been through and she's being selfish if she actually goes through with that. She cried and claimed I wasn't being supportive, and I shouldn't be calling my pregnant fiancé selfish. She doesn't want me to come with her to the wedding anymore either, feeling as if I would kill the mood. She hasn't been talking to me either at it. So about my fiancé and her cousin's relationship. My fiancé always saw competition in her cousin because her cousin would be better at some things than her. Grades, dancing, cosmetics, etc., since they were kids, and she hates that. Last year they had an argument about it because fiancé felt her cousin bragged too much, whereas my fiancé also mentioned there was one thing her cousin wasn't good at, but never said what it was. So in shorter terms the relationship is in between good and bad, but her cousin wanted to invite her to the wedding, I'm guessing to rekindle that. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. Your fiancé has a bad case of main character syndrome. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Are you sure you want to marry this person? She seems to have zero self-awareness, and when you didn't leap to 3 cheers for her stupid idea, she doesn't want you there because you'll kill the mood? She definitely loves herself above everyone else including you. Now for the update. So I didn't expect to get a bunch of replies to my post. But a lot of them were helpful. My ex was determined to go to the wedding, despite my protests, and even planned out how she was going to be refusing alcohol when offered. I did tell my ex's parents about what she was planning on doing. I didn't want to tell the groom or bride because I wouldn't know how to put it in words that would make the whole situation any less awful. Ex's parents did end up telling the bride's parents, and then they told the bride. The bride was so upset that she, unfortunately, called off the wedding. Everyone wanted her to continue it, and invite my ex for a couple of plans guests thought of, X. When my ex announced it, everyone would just stay nonchalant and not give her the excited reaction she was hoping for, and the classic just don't invite her plan. The bride just understandably wanted to be left alone, and she just texted my fiancé a very long paragraph telling her what a horrible person she was. She just decided not to do the wedding anymore, and her fiancé was very heartbroken, but all in all, they were both grateful to me. My ex instantly knew that I was the cause of all of this, and she was furious at me, even more, because I posted about it here, but also said a pretty sick thing about how she still pretty much won anyways. I just decided to break up with her myself after that. Some of her family members are kinda upset with me, as they believe that just caused a bunch of drama. Now I'm currently in the works of talking to an attorney as my ex told me I will not be seeing the baby after they're born. So all that on top of grief, working, breakup, being called a mess starter by some of her family, and still feeling like poop because either way the bride and groom were heartbroken. It's just putting a bunch of anxiety and stress on me, lol. Anyways, here is the long-awaited update. Any questions I'll answer. Edit. So they were pretty much already contemplating on canceling the wedding. Family members did stress her out over her miscarriage and canceling. Her fiancé's family were worried that she couldn't carry a baby to full term like a real woman. Not to mention her own family went around spreading her miscarriage like wildfire, which is how my ex and I found out. They even told it to coworkers. It's not the first time my ex has also interrupted her cousin's big events. When turning 17, my ex cake smashed her, which wasn't fun for her cousin. Their first pregnancy announcement, which was the miscarriage, was ruined because my ex blurted the news out. But her cousin's told to get over that because it was a miscarriage anyways. So she's told by family members this is what I was told when asking her fiancé. So she's been at a breaking point for a while. She was considering just continuing the wedding but wanted to be left alone. They didn't call off the wedding permanently, just until the bride had cooled herself down. Comment 1. OMG, op, you did the right thing, which very often is also the hard thing. It's not very comforting, but it's something. It's really unfortunate that you didn't find out about your ex before you tied yourself to her with a child because she is not going to make it easy. Keep doing the right thing, and good luck with the forthcoming munchkin. They're amazing at refocusing your priorities. Comment 2. You're the idiot. While it's understandable that you're concerned about your fiancé's timing, it's ultimately her decision when to announce the pregnancy. It's not fair to label her as selfish without considering her perspective. The wedding may have been an opportunity for her to share her joy amidst the family struggles. Communication and compromise are key here, rather than jumping to accusations. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for not asking my father to walk me down the aisle? I, female 27, am engaged, planning to get married to my partner, female 30, of 3 years next year. Since I came out as bi, when I was 15, my dad hasn't been supportive of me. He was upset when I first told him about my fiancée and has made it clear he doesn't approve of me being with a woman. He's very distant when I take her to my parents' home for dinner, and won't talk to her when making conversation at the dinner table. When my fiancée isn't around, he's made a lot of subtle cutting comments about her/our relationship despite me telling him to back off. He makes it clear in general that he doesn't see her as family. Basically, he's been casually homophobic my entire life. You know the type. He's not providing any financial support for the wedding, and when I asked if he would actually be attending the wedding, he just gave me a snide. "We'll see." So I honestly wasn't even expecting he would turn up. Part of our intended wedding ceremony will involve me being walked down the aisle and given away. I enjoy a lot of the classic wedding traditions, and that's one I really want to carry out. I assumed my dad wouldn't want to walk me down the aisle. TBH, I don't want him to either, so I asked a male friend, male 58, instead, 1 week ago. This man has known me for almost half my life. He's like a mentor to me and honestly has been more of a father figure to me than my actual dad has. I love him like a paternal figure. We met when I was 16. He was teaching an acting class I signed up for. We both work in theater. He's provided lots of emotional support over the years and been openly supportive of my relationship from the start. He has 2 sons around my age and has said before he sees me a bit like the daughter he never had. He said he'd be honored to give me away. My dad learned of this fact recently. I'm not sure how. He's furious. He says I'm undermining his authority as a parent and making him look like an asshole/fool to everyone who attends the wedding, and if I insist on going through with this, he won't attend at all. There's no way he's going to sit at a table and watch some other man give me away. He's pissed I didn't ask him. After he said that, I asked if he would have said yes. He dodged the question and yelled at me and eventually hung up on me. I admit I didn't consider asking him, and I honestly didn't see the need to. I guess it'll be embarrassing for my dad if he comes, but considering his behavior towards me and my fiancée over the course of our relationship, I don't feel like he's justified to make this demand. Am I the idiot for not asking my actual dad to walk me down the aisle? Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. Walking your daughter down the aisle is a privilege, not a right. And his behavior has ensured that he is not deserving of that privilege. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your father has done nothing to support your relationship. He has shown a complete lack of respect for your partner. He doesn't get to cause unnecessary drama on your big day. Congratulations on the upcoming wedding. Now for the update. Hi, am I the idiot? I posted here 3 years ago. This update is obviously long overdue, but things have been intense the past few years, so I forgot about this account for a long time. I remembered it while browsing some other subreddits, and thought I would share my update because things are better than I ever thought they could be back in 2020. So COVID obviously scuppered our wedding plans. It was meant to be in January 2021. But by that time our country still wasn't in stable enough condition to throw the big wedding with friends and family we wanted. I also lost my job because my company closed, so we wanted to watch our budget. My dad got COVID early in the pandemic, and it was bad enough that he ended up in hospital. Visiting rules were very strict, and only my mom could visit him, and they were both actually really scared he might die. He didn't, but it affected him for a long time afterward. He started going back to church when things opened up a bit. Both my parents are Catholic, but my mom was always the more religious one. He was a bit more lapsed. And you guys will not believe this, my wife and I was shocked that was what made him realize he was a bit of a homophobic AH. The church he went to is quite progressive and is big on the whole accept everyone exactly as they are, because that is how God made us and only God can judge stuff. And the almost dying from COVID thing apparently gave him a different outlook on things. Cut a long story short, we started seeing each other more. We had a lot of long emotional talks. He slowly started apologizing to me and my wife for being an AH, including the wedding thing, and we are now closer than we have been since I was a teenager. Both he and my mentor were at our makeup wedding last year. We ended up making the ceremony a lot less formal than planned because I guess living through COVID gave us different outlooks too. My wife and I just wanted to have a fun time and not care too much about strict traditions. So we ended up walking down the aisle together while all our family and friends sat and watched and cheered. LOL. Things are good. We have dinner with my parents at least once a month and it's awesome. I found a better job and we're more financially stable now and thinking about having kids. I'm excited. Thanks for the judgments and responses back then, and I guess I want to tell everyone that sometimes things work out even when you don't expect them to. Life can surprise you, so look forward to those surprises. Comment 1. I was expecting the worst, but this put a smile on my face seeing that people can change for the better sometimes. I am glad you can have a relationship with your father. COVID was horrible, but I'm glad some good came from the nightmare. Comment 2. This gives me hope for the world in a subreddit that normally makes me despair. Congratulations and best of luck for the future. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my roommate that I don't give a frick about her boyfriend's allergies? I, female 24, have been living with my roommate Layla, female 25, for about 10 months. We have a 2-year lease, so I really want to fix this so we're not miserable for the next year, and to start I need to see if I'm in the wrong. Layla started dating Kyle about 6 months ago. Kyle has severe food allergies to shellfish, nuts and soy, as well as a lot of more mild/moderate allergies. I use nuts and soy a lot in my cooking and some occasional shrimp. At first, Layla would tell me that Kyle was coming over and I would just adjust whatever I was planning on making if it was something that would be aerosolized, mostly nuts, and this was fine. He's never had any reactions at our apartment from my food. But it's slowly escalated, and now they want me to not keep any ingredient in the apartment that could cause him anaphylaxis, even if I'm not actively eating or cooking it while he's over. I've refused and they both pushed back a lot on it, and I snapped a little and told them I don't give a frick about his allergies. I can accommodate him to an extent, but I don't care if the contents of my cabinet make him uncomfortable. He doesn't need to be near my things at all. They're being very dramatic and insisting I'm gonna kill him with my selfishness by having closed jars of nuts in the kitchen I paid to use. But I'm not going to have my diet restricted by someone who doesn't even live here. Layla isn't speaking to me at all right now, and I feel a little bad now because I do understand how serious allergies are, but I also think they're overextending boundaries by telling me what I can or can't eat when he's not even here. Now for a few comments before the update. I have a feeling the boyfriend will be around a lot more often, i.e. move in unofficially, if you were to remove your food items. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Kyle doesn't live there. If his allergies are so severe, he probably shouldn't be putting himself in harm's way by coming to your apartment. Now for the update. I sat down with Layla a few days after my initial post and really talked with her about why I felt her and Kyle's request was unacceptable, and I laid out my biggest concerns. I eat mostly plants, so nuts and soy are like 50% of my protein. So my grocery bill would increase because I'd have to make it up in animal products. Who's going to pay for that? I'm not vegetarian, but I don't really want to eat like that, and I definitely don't want to pay for it, so would they make up that increase? I honestly didn't trust them to stop there. I already did what I felt was a reasonable accommodation, and it wasn't enough, so how long till they take coconut, eggs and tomatoes from me too? It was weird to ask me in the first place, and I felt really disrespected because this is my home, and I don't take second place to a guest. I can to her, personally of course, but that doesn't extend to the apartment. I said I would agree to continue not using his serious allergens when he was present or soon to be, and that was the line. It didn't go over well at all, and Layla told me I was overreacting and I could just do it, and kept talking over me when I tried to say that I wouldn't. Eventually she slipped up with the, "Well, what if he moved in?" And I said absolutely not and ended the conversation with her for the night. We argued in circles about it for nearly 2 weeks, and once it was out, she didn't drop it. I realized it wasn't going to get better, so I did what I didn't want to do and told her that I was going to the landlord about breaking my part of the lease, and she freaked out. It where Kyle's money goes, but apparently he doesn't have any because she was yelling about not being able to afford it on her own, and he couldn't help even if he moved in. I told her that this had gone way too far and I didn't think I could be happy living here with her anymore. If it were easier for her to leave instead, that would be fine too. She was really upset, and I said I wouldn't force her out or leave her suddenly on the lease alone, but it was one or the other. Eventually she accepted it and decided she would move back in with her dad. That was the end of April, and she's fully moved out as of this week. My childhood best friend Allie has been flip-flopping on moving to my city for forever now, and me calling and saying I had a cheap open bedroom if she came right away got her to finally pull the trigger on it. And it helped Layla out because she didn't have to pay to break the lease since I agreed to cover the full rent at my own risk. Allie has stuff to tie up in our home state still, but she's already sent me half of July's rent. I just gotta squeeze for a little while, but I'll make it. I'm super excited to see her and show her around. Plus we've been cooking together since 4th grade, so that'll be a nice change, lol. And I can get a cat. It's been a bit of a rough couple of months, but I'm very happy with how things are looking right now, so I just wanted to share with you guys. Comment 1. So she was expecting you to pay for him to live there as well if he moved in. Like damn, all kinds of entitlement from those two. Comment 2. Imagine blowing up your living situation for your worthless homosexual boyfriend. Outstanding display of effective boundary setting OP. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.